Hi there, Beeb.
Hey, Shelby.
Hi, how you doing? This is
I'm good.
this is Beeb, aka Bieber. That's her code name for this podcast, and she's been a lovely and generous co-host during
Oh, please.
this exercise.
Yeah, I guess it is an exercise.
It has been, yes, something like an exercise.
Yeah,
In
yeah,
I don't know what exactly.
yeah. Shelby, what is that you're holding on to there?
Well, it's a pole. I don't know it. You know what it was? It was like a blind. Like it had a blind
Oh,
on it before, but it
yeah.
doesn't anymore. It's basically garbage. But anyway,
You're,
it's a
you're
good
using it
prop.
as a crutch. Yeah, the
We're
prop.
using it as a crutch. Yeah,
Good, good.
yeah. And
All
sorry, the
right.
light's hitting me weird again. But
No, it's all good. It's still light out here. I mean, spring is
yeah,
right around the corner,
I
which is
know, and
kind of nice.
that's good. Some warm weather would be nice. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
March.
yeah.
March 2025. Here we are.
Hell yeah. Here we are.
Yeah.
Episode
Mm-hmm.
6. So, Shelbs, do you want to take it away? Do you want to recap our last episode?
Okay. Yeah, we had gotten through the holidays smoothly.
Yeah.
Sent a lot of money overseas in various ways, mostly Bitcoin to
Okay.
Ricky's doctor, Dave.
Yes.
And
Dr. Dave.
wouldn't it be great if we all had a Dr. Dave?
Yeah.
Someone who would
Yeah.
just, whisk us away and give us oxygen and help us. But that's what Ricky needed, so that's what he got. And I got my Christmas present, which was that weird bunny T-shirt.
Weird bunny.
Yeah, weird bunny T-shirt because
Weird bunny.
it was my bunny. Ricky's my
Yeah.
bunny. So that was good, but also weird. And then I had sent him some filthy pictures for Valentine's Day. Um, and
Which again, I think we decided filthy pictures are better than flowers because they don't die.
they don't die. Yeah.
Yeah,
Flowers,
yeah,
I don't know where the idea of sending flowers came about, but it never
yeah,
made any sense to me.
yeah, yeah.
Um, Although I guess flowers die, and that would have been sort of apt for this experience. We never really came right out and said it, but if you haven't figured it out by now, this was not actually Ricky Gervais. And
Okay.
right, I mean, I
Well,
guess
what we okay. I mean, I guess up until now we haven't had like the real reveal. I mean, you
right,
guys had planned so much. Things were
yeah,
fabricated in a way that we could have all believed that this is. I mean, minus like the gift cards and whatever, but like the continuation of a conversation with this
yeah.
person.
Yeah, I mean, it had been going on for 6 months, which seems like a
Yeah.
long time.
Right.
And I was a shrimp wallet in every way. I didn't have a ton of money. I was eating peanut butter sandwiches all the time,
Oh my God. But
and
yet you were still, instead of like upgrading to like, I don't know, what do you vegans do? Tofu or like, but
yeah,
we're stuck on the
that's the
peanut butter
dream.
sandwiches. The dream, right? I mean, putting everything in perspective here.
Yeah.
Um, uh,
So
yeah.
yeah,
So,
it felt like, I don't know, after a few months, you think you would have an idea of whether somebody's real or not. And
yeah.
I still didn't entirely know for sure whether this was real or not, but
Right, right.
I had allowed myself to believe that there was plenty of evidence that it could be really Ricky
Sure,
Gervais. It
sure,
could be.
sure.
Um, Although at the same time, I think you knew that there were days when I just couldn't stop crying,
I know. Yeah.
and it's really hard to work on those days.
I hear
It
you.
that's when you wish you worked in an onion factory.
I
Um,
absolutely.
so and I think when that was happening, because I'd never experienced anything quite like that before. I mean, I'd been heartbroken before and had like times when I would cry for like an hour, but this was like all day when like the
Right.
smallest thing would just like make me just break down,
Yeah, yeah,
and I think somewhere in my mind and my heart, I knew that I had allowed myself to get into something that was just going to break me. I think
yeah.
somewhere I definitely had an idea that this wasn't what I hoped it was going to be.
Right, right. You just had that gut feeling, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and so I mean, I was definitely in a very delicate spot here,
right.
and now we're in February. I've sent Ricky these pictures. And I was waiting to see what he would send back. I mean, I
Right,
always like
right.
if I did send pictures, I was always like, "Oh my God, why did I do that? I'm not like
Yeah.
I'm not a supermodel,
Oh,
and
please. Yeah, 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 yeah. I mean,
you know,
I think any person would feel that way. It's
you know,
natural. Yeah,
I mean, you're
yeah,
literally exposing yourself,
yeah.
and but it was also kind of fun. I mean, it was sort of exhilarating to feel like,
Right,
I
right.
still had something, that I wanted to share,
Absolutely.
you know? Um,
Um,
and it felt like sort of taking a leap, but feeling like you were going to be caught, like you weren't just diving into the abyss. I always felt kind of safe still, even though I had like these days where I was just terrified.
right, right. But so Shelby, from when you sent pictures, I mean, he initiated pictures and you sent some back. Did he then
Mhm.
send more pictures back?
Yeah, yeah, and in this case, like, you mean after my Valentine's Day pictures?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he did, and, he sent 2 this time,
Okay.
and one was like a short video, and
Mm-hmm.
one was a still shot, and
Okay.
both of them were a little bit unusual,
Okay.
like, the
Okay.
video clip was a little bit weird because before they'd just been like, still shots.
Yep, yep.
And I was trying to see if this was the same dick as
Yeah,
as
sure.
I had come to know, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. The one out of the lineup, is it the same?
Yes, exactly, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And it seemed like the same setting, which
Right.
was like a locker room setting, but it was sort of a
Mm.
locker room that didn't look like a typical gym locker room. And I know in Ricky's new house, I think it actually has a gym.
Oh
So it
wow.
seemed possible to believe that this was in his house, and it looked like there
Wow.
was nobody else there, just him.
Hmm.
Um, but this guy actually in the little video clip, he was applying deodorant.
Mm.
So that seemed a little weird, you
That is
know?
weird. I mean, it was okay. Okay, it
Yeah,
wasn't
and
something that was
aerosol
like,
also. So if anybody
oh,
knows Ricky Gervais, just I don't think I know it wasn't him, obviously now. But at
yeah.
the time, I was like, I don't know. It didn't seem like his body exactly, and I couldn't tell if it was the same body from previous pictures. But but the second picture was of a person without his head, like cropped
Sure.
like right around his chin, sitting in a car with a
Oh, okay.
shirt on but no underwear.
No underwear. Interesting. Okay. Which again, it's like, how many times are you caught pants down in your
In
car?
your car.
In your
That's
car. Yeah.
that's risky. I'm going to
That
say that's
is.
risky.
Yeah, that
And that
is.
didn't quite seem like, I know I don't know Ricky Gervais, but it didn't seem like the Ricky Gervais I imagined I knew.
Right,
It seemed
right.
like he would be
Like,
way more cautious than that. And this happened like when he was supposed to be between shows in Glasgow in Scotland.
okay,
So he
okay,
had one
okay.
show. This was the next morning, and he
Right.
sent these pictures like early in the morning, like, my time. So this is
Yeah,
like the
yeah.
wee hours of the morning. I'm being like awakened by these wieners, which is not a bad way to wake up, I'm going to say. Generally speaking, that's fine, bring it on.
Sometimes, I mean, sure.
Sometimes.
Depends on.
Yeah.
Okay, well, yeah.
Depends whose it is, I guess, but
Yeah, very true, very true.
anytime the real Ricky wants to wake me up with his wiener, that's fine. So,
Oh my God.
Sorry. But
How
so
many
this,
Dutch Barns is that? I mean,
I have no
really.
idea, but yeah, thank you,
Dutch
Dutch Barn,
Barn.
for
Thank
making
you.
me sloppy.
Yeah,
And
yeah. So,
I hope none of my brothers are listening. I don't think they would. I
you know,
don't think they
don't
would.
make me mad one day because I will give them the links. You know, I will put you on blast.
Okay, point taken, Beeb. I will never make you
I'm
mad.
kidding. I would never, but that is good blackmail.
What? Yeah. What could you do that I haven't already done to myself?
That's true. That's true. So, okay, you sent you that picture, and then I
Mhm.
think I recall you telling me how you were able to figure this out. Like, again, I've been not, I'm pretty techie and what have you, but you were able to
Yeah.
take this picture and upload it somewhere where then a
Mhm.
picture came back saying it was a match, right?
Yeah, yeah. You can load these pictures onto Google Lens, and my phone does
Okay.
that very easily.
Okay.
It can send it right to Google Lens. And voila, there's the same torso, but this time with a head.
Oh my
Not
God.
Ricky Gervais.
Shut
No,
up. I
no.
mean, that feeling. So I feel like when something bad happens, I get this like white feeling in my stomach.
Ugh,
Was it
totally.
was it that? Was it that feeling like
It was it was awful. The only reason I'm not like paralyzed right now is because I'm
yeah.
drunk.
Yeah,
And
totally.
and I'm not really entirely present for this, like
Sure, sure.
reliving this moment, but it was it was awful. I mean, and even when I was like sending that picture into Google Lens,
Yeah,
I felt like, oh God, do I want to know? Do I
right.
really want to find out if this is somebody else? I didn't, but I kind of knew. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, I was hoping I was wrong. I was hoping I wouldn't find the picture.
Right, right.
But when I did, and it was this other guy who had like a different beard, and it wasn't even a great shot, to be honest. It wasn't a good dick pic, you know.
No, no. Doesn't sound
But
doesn't sound it.
no, so it was devastating, and I knew like that was it. It was so quickly it was all over. I knew I had just
Yeah.
been completely scammed, and that this person on the other side of this, I think he'd got sloppy. I mean, honestly, he'd been smarter up until this point. It seemed like he made some real obvious mistakes
Yeah.
with this latest set of pictures. So I'm sure he thought I was so
Right,
stupid
right.
that, because I'd given him every reason to believe I was,
Sure.
that he thought he could get away with
Sure.
this. Um,
Yeah.
so,
So
so I was,
what'd you do? I mean, you found the picture and then what? Did you say, "What the fuck?" You know?
yeah, I was reeling. And so I sent him a screenshot of the full picture, including this person's head. And I
Yeah,
said,
yeah,
"Who are you?"
yeah.
And he responded, "I love you, Shelby." And I was like, "But who are you?"
Yeah,
And
yeah,
he
yeah.
he sort of like, "I don't understand." And then I didn't reply. And then he just started to like barrage me with all these texts, like, "Please let me explain." And I said, "Just, why would you do this?"
Right, right.
And he said his first response was, I don't know where to begin. Poverty. And then his next response was desperation. And it's like,
Oh God.
and I mean, I know that could be true. It could be true that this is
Sure,
somebody who's
sure.
living in poverty and feels like this is the only way, I guess. But it's no joke.
No,
It's not a victimless crime. And I think
no.
probably the people who do this think it is, because they think, if you're sending money, that means you have the money, you
Right,
know
right, right.
and
That's just, and
I
not only that, I mean, sure, people scam others without trying to impersonate somebody, but the fact that
Mhm.
whoever
Yeah.
he or she, we don't even know, tried to impersonate another human being who happens to be a
Mhm.
celebrity for 6 months, and
Mhm.
literally to a point where that he was not stalking, but he knew very intimate details that you cross-checked with this
Mhm.
Ricky Gervais guy. I mean, or Gervais. I just
Mhm.
it's disgusting.
Yeah, it's really still hard for me to get my mind around that people are capable of this, you know. But I was trying, probably for no good reason, trying to put myself in his shoes, you know, and he kept trying to get through to me, and he kept saying, you know, you have to hear me out. And he started sending me voice messages. He started sending me video messages of himself, so I could see who
Oh,
this was. And it was not Ricky Gervais. It was somebody, you know, a young black man who may have, I think he lives in England now, maybe, but
right,
from Africa. Obviously, probably not a lot in common with the real Ricky Gervais, but like you said, knew a lot about him. And it made me wonder, like, why would anybody decide to impersonate Ricky Gervais of
right,
all people, of all the celebrities in the world? And I'm sure there are people impersonating all kinds of celebrities, but
right, right,
Ricky Gervais is he gives a lot of information, a lot of personal information about himself between his shows, his comedy shows, between
right,
his television series. He does a lot of Twitter things where he's answering personal questions. I mean,
right,
like, you know that he went to the dentist recently because he broke a tooth. I mean, there's lots of stuff that's available. So it's
right,
probably like a pretty easy person to like put together a file on, and there's lots of
right.
little video clips that you could save and use, you know, if somebody's asking for a picture. And he always wears black, so it's hard to tell, you know,
Yeah, yeah,
like where it is in time, you know.
yeah.
So I
Isn't
guess,
that funny? Huh.
yeah, it's it's still it's still terrible. Obviously, it's still a
Yeah,
terrible thing to do to a person.
yeah, yeah.
And I stopped, like, I didn't wanna listen to his messages, this guy's messages. I and he's, you know, at some point, he's like he's like, "Let me show you my, you know, my dick," you know? It's like,
No,
sorry. That's
no.
not the way to say I'm sorry.
No,
You
it's
know?
not at
For
all.
any man out there, if you've done something wrong, if you've hurt someone, sending a dick pic probably isn't the best way to say I'm sorry,
No,
right?
absolutely not.
I wouldn't send
Absolutely not.
flowers either because I think flowers are a waste of money, but, you know,
Oh
maybe
my God.
just a nice gift certificate to,
Fuck. Fuck.
you know?
Yeah.
So,
Um,
yeah, so that
so
was how it all blew up.
you, for me, my first instinctual reaction to this would have been anger, and I would have probably bitched him out. I probably would have done everything in my power to make him feel absolutely terrible, which is a bad flaw in myself, but that's how I react. But instead, you just shut down. You decided not to talk to him. What else did you do? Were you like planning on making him technically pay for what he did to you? I mean,
I think I knew I wasn't gonna be able to make him pay, and that,
mm-hmm.
I don't know, that didn't really feel like my natural response. And I kinda wanted him to know how much he'd hurt me, and
Right,
I told him, you know, "You destroyed me,"
right.
and he said something like, you know, like, "This could still be real, we could still take a trip somewhere, not Venice." You know, it's
Not
like,
Venice, like where? Down to the
you
chip
know?
shop? Like
Yeah.
up the road?
Right, I know, and am I gonna pay for that? Of
Yeah,
course I
yeah,
am, you know? Um, but it's weird because then I started thinking, like, somehow he doesn't understand that everything I was responding to was based on the fact that I thought I was talking to Ricky Gervais and no one
right,
else, you know?
right, right.
Nobody else is gonna be able to step in and get the same reaction from me. I'm not invested in anybody else, you know?
Yeah,
And I keep thinking about it and thinking about the psychology behind behaving this way. And
right.
and like every time we do have done one of these episodes, I've gone back and read all the texts that went back and forth between us, and every time I said like the most loving things to this person, I thought,
Mm-hmm.
I started thinking, how would it feel if you weren't actually that person? It would feel
Yeah.
weird and kind of shitty knowing that, all these words, these very, very kind words are meant for somebody else, and it just seems like it would sort of, I don't know, breed this weird sort of feeling of resentment, towards,
Always.
so it just
Yeah.
felt like this guy's not really winning as much as he thinks he is. He's
Right.
just getting money, but in the end, he's not getting any sort of real like support or reaction or affirmation from me, because
No.
that was all
No.
meant for somebody else.
Yeah,
So
I mean, that's so real of you to say that because I mean, you were speaking from the heart, and it's kind of. I mean, I wonder if this person also, in some psychological way, fell in love with you, regardless. Because yeah, I mean, sure, maybe he was trying to impersonate some white rich man because
mhm.
he does that, but maybe your words really did make him fall for you.
That's kind of what he said, but,
Yeah,
obviously it
you
doesn't
can't
it
trust
doesn't
it.
it doesn't really matter, yeah,
No,
because
it
there's
doesn't.
no
It doesn't.
way. I mean, the only reason I sort of accepted everything he said, even
Hmm.
like his like short texts and stuff like that, was because I thought like the real Ricky was behind them.
Yeah, yeah. All the
Um,
efforts you put in. I mean, it's
yeah,
true. It's true.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I don't I do have sort of physical evidence of who this person is, but
Right.
I still feel like, he didn't really force me to do anything. He
Right.
played me so perfectly, like even when I was transferring money, through Bitcoin, he would say, like, if you need this money, you don't have to give it to me. He's like, I want you to be happy. I don't want this to
Well, it's
come
like, but
between
why
us.
ask? Like, if you're an actual person and you actually knew, I don't
Yeah.
know. It's just,
Yeah. He just knew that, if he said something like that, I would respond the way I always did, which was, no, no, you need this. I'm
right,
happy to help
right,
you. I felt privileged to be able to help this person.
right.
And I realized that's a problem. you know, it's so much easier
Yeah.
sometimes to help somebody else. And I, having been a librarian and worked in bookstores for a long, long time, a lot of times like books will come to mind that sort
Mm-hmm.
of help me understand things, and there was a book written by somebody in New Hampshire, Ty
Mm-hmm.
Gagney, and the book is called Where You'll Find Me.
Okay.
It's a true story about a woman who set out to climb one of the presidential peaks in
Sure.
the White Mountains, and she
Yeah.
had like checked off a bunch of peaks already. And
Yeah.
she decided, I think it was Valentine's Day actually, she decided she was going to climb this peak. And regardless of anything that started to happen, she just had her heart set on this. This was her
Mm-hmm.
goal. And so the day of that climb, I think the people who were going to climb with her couldn't make it. Her
Right.
husband, for whatever reason, couldn't make it.
Right.
She still wouldn't let that deter her. And then,
Mm-hmm.
the weather forecast was changing as she was like, getting ready to start her climb, and still she wasn't like weighing any of this in her decision. She just
Right.
was so focused on the outcome. And she wound up dying. She wound
Oh
up like,
no.
it got so cold and windy. Then the White Mountains, it can get very, very windy. So it was like 80
Yeah.
mile an hour winds. She's in deep snow. She's
Oh
completely
wow.
disoriented. She had dressed for a short climb. She had dressed for a
Wow.
much different climb in a different set of circumstances and conditions. So, they had to send out search parties, and they're all risking their lives to find her, and she
Wow.
died. And it was the way he told the story was, it was so compassionate. Like, he
Hmm.
knew that she had made all these bad decisions, but he also understood that that's what your brain does, when you really want
Correct.
something. And I don't know if
Correct.
everybody's had an experience like this, but if you really
Yeah.
want something, you'll tell yourself anything, to work
Absolutely.
towards that, whether it's
Yeah.
like physical or emotional. And I feel like that's exactly what I did.
Yeah.
I knew all of these things were telling me that this couldn't possibly be real, but I had to have it, I had to try
Yeah.
to go for the gold, and
Yeah.
I don't know what the takeaway is there, Beeb, but it's just like
Yeah. No, I mean, it's,
your brain can fuck you up, you
I
know?
think it's just a part of being human that,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, you, you're not alone, Shelby, right? This is the whole reason we did this podcast. It's we're spreading awareness. This could
Mhm,
happen to anybody. And,
mhm,
I know you say you're stupid all along, but sometimes people put their blinders on because they want to see and they want to
mhm.
be hopeful of that end goal. And,
Yeah, yeah,
that's, it's
mhm.
too bad that there are vicious, malicious, greedy scumbags out there that take advantage of good people.
Yeah, and I don't know if they ever, I mean, I've heard situations where people have been scammed and they've, like, sort of stayed in touch with the person
Uh
who's
huh.
tried to scam them and tried to help them figure out another way of making a living, and
Oh, wow.
that
Wow.
sounds great. I mean, those weren't like romantic scams. Those were
Yeah,
more
yeah,
just
yeah.
straightforward money,
Uh
and I
huh.
don't know if I don't wanna be the person to try to rehabilitate somebody, in this
No,
sit
I don't think we have the time for that, right? It's
I
just
definitely
crazy.
don't have the time. Yeah,
Yeah.
and or, I don't have much heart left, I don't think, for this person,
Hmm.
it would be great if he realized that he had gone too far and that this wasn't a victimless crime, and maybe it cost him something too. But I feel like I'd be naive to really believe that that's the case,
Sure, sure. I mean, in a real hopeful way, I do hope that he goes to bed thinking, "Oh, I really fucked this up." But you never know, right?
Mhm.
Because you
You
could
never
have been one of many, and it's
Right.
so unfortunate. And you know what? God damn it! I wish I had his IP address, and I wish that there are ways to go after these scammers. I mean, it is just it happens every day. I mean, that's why we do all this stuff with like cybersecurity. It's like people get a little piece of your information and they fucking run with it.
Yeah, it's a really ugly time, I think, to be a human
Yeah.
being,
Yeah.
because everybody seems to prefer, or not everybody, but a lot of people prefer making money that way versus,
Versus
making an honest living,
an honest living. Yeah, right, right. And
Yeah.
I don't know what I was trying to think of, but I think I had watched a show and I don't know what it was called, and it wasn't that catfish one, but it was somebody going and blowing up maybe it was a movie, but finding these hackers who would
Mhm.
sit in the entire room and there'd be like 50 of them
Uh-huh.
and going and busting them, and it was
Mhm.
just it, it's a lot, and it takes like some
Mhm.
professional police kind of escorted background stuff to dig these people up. They've gotten so sophisticated.
Very sophisticated. Yeah, I think you're right, Beeb. And I was wondering, like, after I sort of figured all this out, and it was
Mm-hmm.
obvious that this wasn't
Mm-hmm.
Ricky Gervais from the dick.
Right, right. The dick's the
You
biggest indicator here.
But yeah, I was thinking, like, this person could have been part of a network where they've all got, like, all this information about this person, and they're just sort of exchanging it to each other, as
Right,
they need it.
right,
Um,
right.
and if that's your job, if that's, what you've dedicated yourself to, really wouldn't be hard to find all the information you need online, to keep this going. I was also thinking, I'm hoping one day that this is a distant memory, but right now it's not. It haunts me, and
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the reasons I stuck with it for so long
Mm-hmm.
was I thought in the beginning that it would be easy to figure out if this was him or not. I figured it
Right,
would
right,
become apparent pretty quickly if this was really
right.
him or not. But what I had forgotten there was how how I'm wired, which is to be, all in. So it didn't really
Yeah,
matter, what
yeah.
he showed me or however many red flags there were. Every time he asked for a gift card, like my heart would sink, but I just kept going,
I know.
you know.
But that's because you're such a good person. At the end of the day,
Well,
you lead with your heart on your sleeve, and
hmm
we thank you for that, right? I mean, we wouldn't be friends if you weren't that way. And I find myself to a little bit like that, but a little bit more like fuck, up front. But
Yeah, well, and thank God for that, Beeb. I feel
yeah,
better knowing that you're not that fragile or vulnerable. You're
well,
better at protecting yourself, which is good.
yeah, but again, I've went. I'm not a spring chicken anymore. I have kind of done some shit that, yeah, I put my guard up, and thank God for my
Mhm.
husband, because I'm a tough cookie sometimes, and bless his heart for dealing with it. Really,
Well,
it just, but that's
I
what
think,
life throws at you, and you always like
yeah.
start to build up these guards. So I guess, Shelby,
Mm.
the takeaway from here is, and I know, and don't give me the answer I'm not looking for, like, we're gonna put this behind us, but then I know you want to go cry in the onion factory and you want to go do some silly, silly stuff, but
Yeah.
you know what? You and I are gonna go see a Ricky Gervais show when the
Yeah, I
tickets are
was thinking
reasonably
we could go to
priced.
Quebec City if you want to.
That would be a fucking blast. I love
In
Canada.
August, you want to do that, Beeb?
I would love to. I will have to bring Emra though. Only, oop, I said his
Okay.
name, because he has not done Canada and he's been thinking about it.
Oh,
Plus, he
okay.
could be like our bodyguard or like something.
Yeah. Okay.
We
All
could,
right.
but we
Well,
can
we'll
like send him somewhere else, and then we could go to the
to the show.
comedy show. Yeah,
Okay. All right. Yeah, we'll talk about the details there, Beeb. That would be
yeah,
awesome.
yeah,
That
yeah.
would be great.
And I
Yeah.
mean, in terms of dating, obviously, I don't know, Shelby. That are you gonna even try to throw a leg over another horse, or are you?
It's a great expression.
I mean, I don't know. I just pulled that one out of left field because
That
of
was a
course.
real good expression, Beeb.
Yeah, yeah.
I would say no. And
For
to be honest,
now,
well, I hadn't been looking before, this kind of
right?
like sort of really knocked me for a loop, this whole experience. I wasn't looking for any real connection, I was
Sure.
just like responding like to a Facebook post saying, I thought Afterlife was a perfect show, and that was all I was going to say, and then this all unfolded. The only thing that's different now is I feel like suddenly I do know how it feels to really love somebody and be loved back, even though it was completely fake, but I hadn't
Sure,
had
sure.
that feeling before,
Right.
and it was a great feeling. So I don't know if it's
Yeah.
possible anymore. I don't think I'll really try very
Yeah.
hard to find out if it's possible again,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
I mean, I don't know. I feel like in your life you're allowed a few good true loves, and then other than that, I mean, this is gonna sound bad, but you're born alone and you die alone, and so it's
yeah,
what you're willing to like put up with in between, and
yeah.
I,
And I
being
might
sick
like to
that
die
would be
on a
great.
I would like to die on an iceberg.
Oh, that's such a bad idea. There's so
Pushed
many
out to
ways and
sea.
so you could literally go out on the iceberg, the seal grabs your leg, gets your
Yeah,
leg, and then you're laying there. Like, there are so many better ways to go.
to go. All right, sure,
Well,
sure,
I mean,
but
we could
that's
debate that in the next podcast, I think.
the
How
best
many
ways to
good,
die.
yeah, the best ways to die. Let's write a
Yeah.
book.
Probably, yeah, and I do like the idea of something that's not painful,
Right, right,
but
yeah.
you also want it to look like an accident, so that's where it gets tricky,
Interesting,
you
interesting,
know? Anyway,
interesting. Okay.
yeah,
Anyways, well,
so
I don't know. Do we want to wrap this up here and
I guess so, I guess we should be.
motherfucker?
You've been a real good sport going along on this ride with me, I I still regret so much, but I also regret telling the people I did tell about this as it was happening before I knew what was happening, because it means going around and telling all those people that I was stupid, and that I was conned and stuff, and that's humiliating
I
to say
mean,
the
it's,
least,
yeah,
you
I
know.
guess, but forgive and forget. I don't hold it against you.
Yeah, thank you. But I also wonder if I hadn't told anybody, if I had kept this to myself, would we be here now? Or would I have somehow figured
Kept
out?
going.
I don't know. I think it's probably for the best that I did tell people, because if I had kept
Absolutely.
this all to myself, I would have just really not known how to go
Get
on.
out. Yeah.
Yeah, how to get
Go
out.
on, get out. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's for all the listeners out there. If this is happening to you, reach out to your friends because you know what? Regardless of how you feel, feeling stupid or silly or what
Hmm.
have you, like you need a support system. And this is happening. I don't know what the statistics are, but
Mm,
probably every minute, every single
I'm
minute, someone is
sure.
trying to get scammed.
Yeah, I'm sure most people don't report it or say anything because
Yeah.
it does feel terrible and you just feel so stupid, and who really wants to say to the world how, how stupid they are?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but and if you don't feel like you have anybody else to reach out to, you can reach out to us.
Absolutely. We are open ears. We are,
Yeah, yeah. This
yeah.
is a judgment-free zone,
Yeah. And
obviously.
so
It
Shelby,
has to be.
what's the email that they can reach out to?
The email is rickygervaisrobot@gmail.com.
Very
And I
original.
think you can
Very
probably
original.
you can add comments to this YouTube, when it's
Okay.
posted on YouTube, or maybe the other
Okay.
platforms too.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Beeb. Well, thank you
Well,
so much,
geez. Well,
and
thank you
thank you.
so much. I really, really appreciate you and I appreciate our friendship. And,
Me
again,
too.
anyone who needs to vent, come talk to us.
Come
We're open
find us,
ears.
yeah, and,
Yeah.
thank you to Dutch Barn also for making this possible,
For
right?
sponsoring this.
Although they didn't really, and they
They didn't
probably
really, they
wouldn't,
didn't really, they will
but
not. They will not.
but
Yeah.
but we enjoyed the Dutch Barn nevertheless. I think my
Amen.
video quality is breaking up, but
Okay. All
anyway.
right.
Okay,
Shelby, you have a
Beeb.
good night. The sun
You
is
too,
down,
Beeb.
okay?
Yeah. Okay.
All
Thanks,
right.
Beeb. Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Be safe.